Featuring a 7-inch screen, the Kobo Libra Colour is definitely a smaller e-reader. I usually focus on larger e-readers on this channel, so why would this one catch my eye? The answer is simple. It's a color e-reader. But more than that, I think this little e-reading device might just represent the best overall value of any in Kobo's current lineup of devices. Now, before I go any further here, I've already covered the unboxing of the device, explained how Kaleido 3 color e-ink screens work, and compared how the Kobo Libra Colour stacks up against the Pocketbook Era Color in my previous video, Color is Key, if you haven't checked it out. I've also seen how the Kobo Libra Colour comes out quite favorably when even going up against the remarkable Paper Pro in a color showdown. So also check that out. Let's dive straight into the KoboBot ebook reading experience on the device, which, like most Kobo e-readers, is predictably excellent. Firstly, page turns are not only snappy, but impressively so, rendering images and text at speeds that make this reviewer stop and marvel. In terms of navigation, you can swipe or tap pages to advance forward or backwards in the book. You can also use the page turn buttons. You also have the convenient page jump slider bar, which remembers the last 3 points you were at within the book, along with a handy page preview window to see the page you want to navigate to. You also have a table of contents, allowing you to jump to specific chapters within your book. Additionally, you can rotate the device to flip the screen and read in landscape or orientations that better suit left-handed reading. Or you can lock the device's screen to portrait or landscape mode to make sure the screen isn't going to move around on you. You also have the usual refinements of the Kobo ebook reading experience, like a fair selection of font types, size, line spacing options, margin sizes, and even some control over the weight of your chosen font type. You also have the ability to quickly change your font size via pinching and zooming the screen. A small circular preview window helps you to dial in the size you're looking for. In addition, you also get a fairly robust settings menu with several options, including the ability to switch the role of the page turn buttons on the device and choose which areas of the screen to tap to activate certain functions. Text appears crisp and clear as usual, however, you'll probably notice this moire pattern or kind of a screen door effect on the screen at times. That's likely caused by the color filter array on the Kaleido 3 color e-ink screens and is visible to some degree on most devices using them. I feel like this pattern comes across quite strongly in this footage, and it doesn't seem this noticeable to me in everyday use in real life. I'd describe my experience when holding the device at a reading distance as noticing a slight speckled sheen on certain areas of the page now and then. I don't usually find this too distracting, but I'd say I notice it once in a while. It's not something you can turn off, however, so if you think this might be an issue for you, I would suggest trying to look at a model in store to see if you're comfortable with it before purchasing. The device features a Frontlight, which, as I mentioned in my previous Color is Key video, is more important than ever to illuminate the darker than usual Kaleido 3 color e-ink display. The Frontlight is fairly even with no glaring bright or dim spots I could detect. The light can be adjusted from a whitish color to quite a deep mango orange hue. there did seem to be a slightly more yellowish tinge to the Frontlight, even when set to an entirely white mode. Again, this didn't bother me too much, but I feel it's worth mentioning. One other note to add here, nicely, the Kobo Libra Colour's Frontlight does not appear to suffer from the screen flickering caused by PWM or pulse width modulation. This footage was filmed at 120 frames per second, and while the Kobo Forma shows clear PWM banding on the screen, the Kobo Libra Colour shows none of this on any light hue or intensity I tried. Both color and black and white images generally look great on the device. You can also get a closer look at these by double tapping on them to enter a separate image viewing mode that allows you to zoom in to get a closer look. I'm especially impressed at how well many of the color images are displayed, and particularly so with the gradation and shading in colored imagery. The next part of this video concerns the Kobo Stylus 2 and what it can bring to the overall experience of using the device. However, I want to highlight that unless you already have a Kobo Ellipsa 2e, which is sold with the stylus included, you'll have to purchase the stylus separately. And it feels a bit pricey to me for a stylus that doesn't seem all that fancy, unique, and must be charged from time to time in order to work. However, having said that, I do feel that the stylus opens up a lot of functionality that just isn't there with the Kobo Libra Colour on its own, so it's definitely worth purchasing in my opinion. If the ability to write directly on your KoboBot ebooks is cool, the ability to write on these in several different colors, with different line thicknesses, and even the ability to use different colors of highlighters is honestly kind of a magical experience in my opinion. Especially so when you've been reviewing black and white e-readers for as long as I have. You can even turn on dark mode on the device, and the color experience with images and with notes is entirely unhindered. Just look at this image and the colors on the screen for a minute. For an e-ink device, it just looks incredible, and Kobo has done a fantastic job here. In dark mode. Yes, like super impressive. Very, very, very impressive. It's also nice that there's some pressure sensitivity to notes made on KoboBot ebooks, so more of your own unique writing style comes through on the page. The downside, of course, is that the feeling of using the Kobo Stylus 2 to take notes on a plastic screen isn't exactly like writing on paper, but I would say this feels like it has a slightly more gritty texture than an iPad screen. So, not absolutely terrible, but also not the same writing experience as something like the Remarkable 2 or the Kindle Scribe. The other big downside is the size. Especially if you have larger hands, writing on a 7-inch screen isn't all that comfortable. I also wouldn't push down too hard when taking notes because using too much pressure might leave marks on the screen. However, even with those disadvantages in mind, it seems to me like Kobo has outclassed the overall ebook note-taking experience of many larger e-ink e-readers with this small 7-inch e-reader. You can write directly on the page of your ebook, so that's already won over on the Amazon Kindle Scribe for most ebooks bought on Amazon's online store. And yes, I even still say that with the new updates that Amazon has issued for the Scribe, where you can write on the screen but it rearranges the text around it, I just don't think that's as cool, frankly. And I'd even say it outshines the ebook note-taking experience on the Kobo Ellipsa 2e because you can use several colors of pen, highlight text in several colors as well, and actually have a choice of line thicknesses for the pen size. Something Kobo just stubbornly refuses to add to its larger note-taking capable e-readers so far. There's also the way Kobo deals with the notes you make on the page. If you make a note on a particular page of an ebook, but then change the font size or page formatting, a set of square brackets will appear around the area of text where you made that note. Tapping on the square icon appearing alongside these shows you a screenshot of how that section looked originally when you made your note, as well as the option to revert your current ebook font and margin size settings back to how they were at the time the note was made. It's such a simple and elegant way of doing this, and I think it's great. However, I do have to note some occasions in my tests where the lines and notes weren't reverted back quite exactly how they were. These were a little off in their positioning, so something for Kobo to work on there in future. Another quick note concerns an odd anomaly I noticed on how some Kobo bought ebooks display their images on the Kobo Libra Colour. Specifically, I noticed this on Arnold Schwarzenegger's autobiography Total Recall. Compared to how this ebook displayed on the larger Kobo Ellipsa 2e, there were several instances where the images were noticeably pinched looking or squashed in terms of their aspect ratio. These same images also looked squashed on the Kobo Forma, so I don't know if this is an issue with how those images are being handled by the devices, or if it's an issue with how the book was formatted by the publisher. However, I didn't notice this effect on images in other ebook titles. Anyways, on to the PDF experience on the device. The Kobo Libra Colour handles most PDFs quite well. Paging through documents is snappy and responsive, and there's very little lag even when loading PDF documents filled with full-color imagery. In keeping with the pinch to zoom performance on other recent Kobo e-readers, I found the device's ability to pinch to zoom to be both extremely fast and responsive on both text and images. The quick screen refresh when zooming in on full-color images is particularly impressive. The Libra Colour also retains Kobo's recent edition, allowing you to zoom in and then tap the screen to turn pages at that specific zoom scale throughout the document. In addition, like in Kobo bought ebooks, you can rotate the screen to read PDFs in landscape mode as well. More refinements carried over from the Kobo ebook experience include the page preview and page jump slider bar, table of contents to quick jump to different areas of your PDF document, the ability to quickly bookmark pages by tapping the right top corner of the page, and the ever-useful bookmark and annotation list to help find these in your document. Unlike Kobo bought ebooks, however, using dark mode on PDFs is still far from perfect. Images are more inverted than ever now that colors are flipped alongside grayscale values, and to some, reading PDFs in this mode may be downright unsettling. But yeah, more disturbing than ever, I would say, in dark mode. Seriously, it kind of reminds me of that old Star Trek episode where they're fighting in an alternate universe and it looks weird. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kobo, please devote some energy to fixing this. That's not the only point Kobo seems determined to not fix, as you should probably know that beyond basic zoom options, there are no dedicated PDF cropping tools like on certain Pocketbook and Onyx Books devices. Rounding out the negatives is that Kobo is steadfastly refusing to allow you to long press on words for definitions when reading PDFs. Why they took this ability away in the first place, we may never know. Having said that, I actually think that the PDF experience on the Kobo Libra Colour is pretty good. Part of that is the excellent quality of the colors and shading produced on the device. But the fact that Kobo also allows you to mark up your PDFs with the same range of pen colors, thicknesses, and highlighter colors as on ebooks deserves special mention. This opens up so much functionality on the device. The blended utility of different line thicknesses paired with colored pen options and highlighter colors allows one to not only differentiate topics, but also organize and give a kind of hierarchy to your notes. This kind of ability could be especially useful to students paging through PDF documents to find quotes or supportive arguments for a research paper. Wish I had this in my day. I was even impressed at how the colors of the highlighter areas overlapped, with those areas appearing to blend to make distinct new colors where the overlaps occurred. However, while the experience is mostly great, I did notice a bug cropping up a few times where all annotations would suddenly disappear off the page if I zoomed in. These didn't restore when I zoomed back out either, and turning pages back and forth and writing additional annotations did nothing to help this. In fact, I had to exit the PDF document to the main menu and then go back into the document before the device would display these annotations again. After that, I was able to zoom in on these colored annotations as much as I wanted. But just kind of a weird and frustrating bug I've seen a few times now on the device. Exports of these annotated PDFs work fairly well, but again, one is faced with a jagged collection of lines made up of dots, so I don't know why Kobo can't just smooth this out somehow. Okay, so it's on to the notebook modes on the device. Do I have to do this? Is this absolutely necessary? With that bit of foreshadowing, we'll move right along. Kobo's notebook modes are split into two different types. Firstly, let's look at the basic notebook mode. This mode is probably my favorite of the two because it mainly works. You have several pen types and all the pen colors available in the other modes. These pen types feature varying degrees of pressure sensitivity. You can also use the eraser on the back of the Kobo Stylus 2 or the eraser options in the menu to erase. You have a very basic lasso tool enabling you to move notes or drawings around the page, change their size, or convert them. You'll also notice a copy option in that menu, but there's no paste option. That sounds familiar. Okay, copy. Might as well have added a Get the Inktelligent Mad button, because you're succeeding at that really well. Kobo has again given you the option to make more perfect shapes by drawing your shape, and then hesitating momentarily before lifting the stylus up from the page. Basic shapes work well with this, but I found it doesn't usually recognize more complex shapes. Additionally, the device has a bad habit of sometimes converting all notes nearby, even when you've only selected a small portion to convert. Even the color these notes were made in, oddly, seemed to have some effect on what word the device thought it was, which doesn't even make much sense since the colors on the device are essentially achieved through a color grid placed above the e-ink screen itself. Only adding to these gripes is Kobo's badly designed menu system in this mode, which is, annoyingly, only accessible through tapping a tiny arrow on the screen. When you do have it open, it takes up at least a good 25% of the screen between the overly large menu bands at the top and the bottom that obscure your view of the page on the device. These are little annoyances really, but the problem is that they add up. For exporting your notes made in this mode off the device, PDF, PNG, and JPEG formats on the basic notebook seem to export well, so that's another positive for this mode. I won't spend too much time on the advanced notebook, and that's simply because over several generations of products now, Kobo doesn't seem to be spending much time on it either. It's supposed to be an enhanced version of the basic notebook that allows for gesture-based tasks, note conversion, and the ability to insert several drawing and math-focused workspaces into your notes. However, this mode is so buggy when I've used it that, to me anyway, it seems nearly unusable in any practical way. Gestures both do and don't work. If I can. Converting handwritten notes into text is also pretty spotty. Hun, cabs learned in lesson. No. Bad. Sometimes it will get these right, but for some examples, it took far too many taps on the words for the device to even attempt doing this. It's not even doing it. Even when it does convert these notes, it rescales them down to tiny, almost unreadable proportions, especially given that all this is taking place on a 7-inch screen to begin with. You have to tap these to rescale them to any appropriate size. Although one win for the device was that it did seem to keep the converted text in the color they were made in, so that's at least something. Other times, doing something as simple as drawing a line on the screen will cause the device to insert one of the diagram modes without you ever having asked for it. Still other times, you'll have your writing interrupted by random notices that the device is processing something. And oftentimes this just hangs on the screen until you dismiss it without seeing that it made any change to anything on the page. To cap everything off, sometimes the device actually just deletes what you write if it decides it doesn't fit within the lines on the page. These kind of beta-level software bugs ruined any kind of concentration or focus I attained when I was trying to write on the device. Sadly, the diagram modes aren't that much better. The insert drawing mode is assisted by now having the options of different colors to work with, but the absence of shading or really precise pressure sensitivity controls really constrain what you're able to accomplish on this canvas. The color options are also limited, and this further curtails the usefulness of this mode. The diagram mode is definitely my favorite and seems to work the best of these in my experience. This mode was working noticeably better than when I last tested it out on the Kobo Ellipsa 2e, with it generally doing well at converting simple shapes and text. However, even this mode is ruined by the aggressive over-processing by the device, and sometimes it will change your pen marks automatically without you ever having asked for these to be converted in any way. The math equation mode still has the annoying bug of using two different equations together when they are written on the same horizontal line, even if they're on the opposite side of the box where you write these. The insert freeform mode, essentially the insert drawing mode with a grid on top, again, basically allows you to draw, although it can be handy that the hesitate to create a more perfect shape system works here too. As limited, buggy, and wanting as I continue to find these modes, I do have to admit that the ability to draw in different colors does add a certain extra enjoyability to using them on the Kobo Libra Colour. Exports from this mode are a mixture of hit and miss. The Microsoft Word format was probably the best of these modes, and most accurately represented any illustrations I made. It also gave the most flexibility, allowing me to move the illustrations, or in some cases parts of the illustration around, and even resize these. The HTML export was much less impressive. Lines rendered out considerably thicker in general, sometimes outright ruining the illustrations, and there were times where the line positioning didn't match the original illustration. The only other export file type, a text file, works about as well as that mode can be expected to. Just don't expect any lines or illustrations to show up, of course. I wanted to quickly touch on the overall ergonomics of the device. They aren't terrible by any means. It is overall pleasing to hold the Kobo Libra Colour, but I found that I always needed both hands to hold it aloft when reading. Something about the fairly large rounded flanges on the corner of the device and the distribution of the internal components meant that it usually felt weighted towards the left side of the device. Not crucial, but just something to mention. One last thing, if you're choosing between this device and the recently released Kindle Colorsoft, I do personally think that the Kobo Libra Colour has a few elements to recommend it over Amazon's device. For one, the Kobo Libra Colour offers the same screen size at a considerably cheaper price, while still giving the user the option of using page turn buttons. Additionally, while it's an extra purchase, I've already talked about the extra functionality that the Kobo Stylus 2 can provide when used on the Kobo Libra Colour. And as far as we know, Amazon has no plans to roll out a stylus that can work with the Colorsoft. Lastly, in what seems to me like a disturbing echo of recent trends in Amazon products, there's some evidence from earlier reviews that PDFs transferred to the Kindle Colorsoft via USB cable won't actually be displayed in color, and that one may have to send PDF documents through Amazon's Send to Kindle service in order to get those devices to show up in color on the Kindle Colorsoft. Frankly, if that's true, I think that's kind of insane. I'm so pleased to say that there are none of those kind of restrictions on the Kobo Libra Colour, and you can enjoy your PDF documents in color by just loading them onto the device via USB-C. The Kobo Libra Colour is a smaller e-reader, and it does have to live with the drawbacks of e-ink's Kaleido 3 screen technology, like having a considerably darker screen when the Frontlight is off. It also has to cope with the inherited flaws of Kobo's note-taking modes, just okay writing feel, and not having a stylus come bundled with the device itself. However, if those things aren't deal killers for you, then there's a lot to recommend this plucky little e-reader. It has possibly the best calibrated Kaleido 3 color e-ink display currently on the market outside of the Kindle Colorsoft. Pairing that great color screen with the near excellence of Kobo's ebook reading experience makes this device seem almost a little bit magical to me. And the fact that I've used that word more than once in a review is kind of saying something. There's also the fact that this little device currently features the most comprehensive annotation ability of any e-reader in Kobo's lineup, and it does this in color. That will no doubt appeal to academics out there who, suddenly, have a full color device that you can read and annotate PDFs on that also automatically gives them access to arguably, the second largest ebook ecosystem, and that's portable enough to just throw in a case or backpack. The fact that Kobo has built the base of all of these abilities into a device that's under $300 is actually pretty commendable. The Kobo Libra Colour is special, significant, and punches far above its weight. So while it may achieve the colors on its screen with optical illusions, to me, the Kobo Libra Colour has some pretty good optics. While I think the Kobo Libra Colour is generally great, I've got a few thoughts. So Kobo, if you're listening. 1. Nice work on finally giving us colors and line thicknesses when annotating PDF documents. But now dig deep and add the different pen types you already have on the device in the notebook modes. 2. Dark mode is more fantastic than ever on the ebook side of things. Please try to find some way of finally improving dark mode on PDFs. 3. PDFs, especially on smaller devices, also need some kind of dedicated cropping mode. I've said this before, but you really need to build one. Some contrast adjustment options wouldn't hurt while you're at it. 4. Kobo, your notebook modes need desperate work. Just try to use them. You'll see what I mean. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a digital like and subscribe to encourage more Inktelligent videos like this one.